The night I got into college, I cried in the hallway outside my bedroom, not because I was overwhelmed with joy, though I was, but because my mum looked up from folding laundry and said, "Well, you'll have to figure that out yourself, won't you?" I was 17, clutching the acceptance letter like it was a golden ticket. Full ride to a good university, tuition, books, housing. But not food, not travel, not life. I needed maybe $3,000 to make it work. A safety net, a little help. My dad didn't even look up from the TV. "We've got Dale to think about," he said, like I was a stray dog begging for scraps. "My name is Victoria." And that was the moment I realised I was on my own. I worked nights at a diner where the manager called me sweetheart, and the tips barely covered bus fare. I studied on breaks, slept 4 hours a night, and learned how to stretch a can of beans across 3 meals. Meanwhile, my brother Dale got a brand new Mustang for graduation, and a loan to start a business selling smart home gadgets he couldn't even explain. He failed, twice, but he always landed on his feet because our parents made sure he did. I didn't fail. I just disappeared for a while. Now, I own the building I'm standing in, 18th floor, glass walls, clean lines, the kind of office that smells like power and eucalyptus. My heels click across the marble as I walk to the window and look out over the city. It's a quiet kind of victory. No cheering, just silence and altitude. Then the intercom buzzes. "Victoria," my receptionist says, voice tight. "Your parents are here." I don't move. "They're asking to speak with you." "Together." I take a breath. "Send them up." I don't know what I expected. Maybe a little more shame, maybe a little less. They're sitting in the lobby when I step out of the elevator. My mother stands first, clutching her purse like it's a life raft. She's thinner than I remember, her hair greyer. My father stays seated, eyes on the floor, jaw tight. "Hello, Victoria," my mother says. I nod. "You must need something." She flinches. My father finally looks up. "Can we talk somewhere private?" I gesture toward the conference room. Neutral ground, glass walls, no secrets. They follow me in, shuffling like ghosts. I sit at the head of the table. They sit across from me, side by side, like a united front. But their hands don't touch. My mother clears her throat. "It's about Dale." "Of course it is. He made some bad investments," she says, voice wobbling. "The startup didn't... Well, it collapsed." My father cuts in. "He was misled. The market shifted. It's not his fault." I raise an eyebrow. "And?" "We backed him," my mother says quickly. "We believed in him. We put everything into his company, the house, the retirement accounts. It's all gone." "All of it?" I ask. My father's mouth twitches. "We're being evicted next month." I lean back in my chair, folding my hands in my lap. "And you came to me because..." "We need help," my mother whispers. My father doesn't speak. He just stares at the table like he's waiting for it to open up and swallow him. I let the silence stretch. I want them to feel it. The weight of every ignored call, every dismissed dream, every year I spent clawing my way out of the hole they left me in. "I'll think about it," I say finally. My mother's face lights up with hope. My father still won't look at me. I stand. "I'll be in touch." They leave quietly, like people exiting a church after a funeral. I walk back to my office and close the door. Then I pick up my phone and call Ava. She answers on the second ring. "Talk to me." "I need a contract drawn up." There's a pause. "For who?" "My parents. And Dale." She exhales. "What kind of contract?" "The kind that outlines exactly what they owe me. In writing, financially, emotionally, legally." "Jesus, V. I'm not playing games, Ava. I want it ironclad." "You want to help them or humiliate them?" "Both." Another pause. "I'll draft something, but you should think this through." "I have. For years." I hang up and walk to the window again. The city looks the same, but something's shifted. I remember Dale showing off his new car in the driveway while I was carrying a trash bag full of second-hand clothes into a basement apartment that smelled like mildew. He revved the engine and said, "You should have just married rich." I remember my mother's voice, soft and useless. "You don't need school to be happy, honey. Just find a man who can take care of you. I remember my father saying, Dale's the future of this family. And now the future is broke. 2 hours later, Ava walks into my office with a folder. She drops it on my desk. Read it, she says. Then tell me if you still want to be this person. I open it. The words are clean, precise, brutal. Power of attorney, public apology, labour repayment, confidentiality clause. Are you sure you want to go this far? Ava asks. I look her dead in the eye. Not far enough. I met them at a coffee shop near their old neighbourhood. Neutral ground again. I didn't want them in my office. Not yet. They were already there when I arrived. My mother looked like she hadn't slept. My father looked like he hadn't stopped clenching his jaw in days. I sat down across from them, sliding my coffee onto the table like it was a loaded weapon. Where's Dale? I asked. My mother wrung her hands. He's not feeling well. I gave her a look. He's embarrassed, she added, quieter. Good. My father leaned forward. We didn't come here to be insulted. I met his eyes. Then you came to the wrong person. He sat back, stiff. My mother tried to smile, like that would soften things. We're willing to do whatever it takes, she said. We don't have anywhere else to go. I pulled out the folder and placed it on the table between us. What's that? My father asked. A contract, I said. My terms. He reached for it, but I stopped him. You'll read it when we all sit down, together, Dale included. You're making this a show, he snapped. No, I said. I'm making it legal. My mother's lips trembled. Victoria, please. We're your family, I stood. You didn't think that when I was eating ramen for weeks while Dale was flying to Vegas on your dime. I turned and walked out, without looking back. That night, I sat across from Ava in my kitchen, the contract spread out between us. She sipped from a glass of wine while reading. You weren't kidding, she said, flipping a page. This is ruthless. Is it enforceable? Oh, it's airtight. You're not just helping them, you're owning them. Good. She looked up at me. You sure this is what you want? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I opened the drawer beside me and pulled out an old photo. Me, 17, in a waitress uniform, standing outside a greasy diner. My apron was stained. My smile was fake. I asked him once, I said quietly, just $500 for textbooks. He told me to get a second job. Ava didn't say anything. She didn't have to. I pushed the contract toward her. Let's set the dinner. The restaurant I picked had valet parking, white tablecloths, and a wine list longer than my resume. I arrived early, took the best seat at the table, and waited. They walked in together, my parents and Dale. He looked thinner, pale, like someone who'd been living off microwave burritos and regret. He didn't meet my eyes. Nice place, he muttered, sliding into the seat across from me. I own it, I said. He blinked. My mother cleared her throat. Thank you for meeting us. I nodded. Let's order. We ate in stiff silence. My father picked at his steak. My mother barely touched her salad. Dale finished his plate like he hadn't eaten in days. When the plates were cleared, I pulled the folder from my bag and laid it on the table. These are my terms, I said. My father scoffed. Terms? You're asking me to save you, I said. This is what that costs. He opened the folder. My mother leaned over his shoulder to read. On. Full power of attorney over all their remaining property and assets. 2. A public letter of apology signed by all three of them, to be published in the local paper and online. 3. Dale to work at my company for minimum wage. 40 hours a week, no exceptions. 4. A confidentiality clause. No lying, no spinning the story, no pretending this was anything but what it was. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Dale's face turned red. You've got to be kidding. You want help? I said. This is the price. This is insane, he said. You want me to scrub toilets for you? I want you to earn back what you took. I didn't take anything from you. You took everything from them, and they took everything from me to give it to you. My father stood suddenly, the contract shaking in his hand. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said. I already was. He tore the contract in half and threw it on the table. Come on, he said to my mother. We're leaving. She looked at me, eyes full of something I couldn't name. Regret? Shame? Fear? Mum, I said, if you walk out with him, this offer disappears. She froze. Then my father turned and stormed out. We followed him to the parking lot. He was halfway to the car when he stumbled, then collapsed. Randall! My mother screamed. I rushed forward on instinct, but Dale caught him first. He was pale, gasping, clutching his chest. Call an ambulance! Dale shouted. I already had my phone out. The sirens came fast, lights flashing, paramedics swarming. I stood back and watched them load my father into the ambulance, my mother crying beside him. Dale looked at me over the roof of the car, his face drenched in sweat. You happy now? He yelled. I didn't answer. I just watched them drive away. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and guilt. My mother was slumped in a chair, mascara streaked down her cheeks. My father lay in the bed, pale and hooked up to machines, sleeping like a man who'd run out of fight. Dale stood in the corner, arms crossed, eyes red. I walked in holding a manila envelope. My mother looked up. Victoria? I brought the contract, I said. She blinked. Now? You asked for help. This is how it happens. Dale stepped forward. He just had a heart attack. Mailed, I replied. He'll be fine in a few days. Plenty of time to read. My mother stood slowly. You can't be serious. I placed the envelope on the table next to the bed. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to offer a lifeline. Is this really about money? She asked, her voice cracking. No, I said. It's about acknowledgement. Dale scoffed. You want us to kiss your feet? No, I said. Just sign the paper. My mother stared at the envelope like it might explode. Then, without speaking, she sat down and opened it. She read. Page after page. Her hands trembled. She reached for the pen on the tray table. Wait, Dale said. You're actually going to sign that? She didn't answer. She just signed. When she was done, she slid it back to me. Thank you, I said. I'll have copies sent to you. Dale looked like he wanted to throw something. I walked out without looking back. Later that night, Ava and I sat in her living room, papers spread out across the coffee table between us. She poured 2 glasses of whiskey. She actually signed? Ava asked. I nodded. While he was sleeping? Damn! She slid one of the signed pages toward her. You know this is going to destroy whatever was left of your relationship with them. I sipped the whiskey. There wasn't much left to destroy. Ava looked at me. You ever wonder if this is too much? I stared at the paper. Is it too much to ask for the truth? For consequences? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The next day I walked into the building I owned on 12th and Main. One of my smaller properties used to be a bank, now a mixed-use space with offices and retail. Clean, efficient, profitable. Dale was already there, standing awkwardly in the lobby in a grey janitor's uniform. He looked like he wanted to disappear. Morning, I said. He didn't respond. I handed him a clipboard. Your assignments for the week. Bathrooms, windows, trash, break rooms. He took it without looking at me. Clock in at the front desk, I added. Lunch is 30 minutes. No exceptions. He walked away without a word. I watched him go. Employees passed by, whispering. That's her brother, right? Did you hear what happened? She made him a janitor. Brutal. I didn't care. Let them talk. Let them see. That evening, I stopped by the property to check on things. Dale was mopping the hallway outside the yoga studio. He looked up when he saw me, sweat dripping down his temple. You proud of this? He asked. I leaned against the wall. I'm proud of the building, the business, the fact that you're finally doing something useful. That's a bonus. He dropped the mop. You think this makes us even? No, I said. This makes us honest. He stepped closer. You don't know what it's like to fail. I laughed. You think this is about failure? I failed every day for 10 years. I failed quietly, alone, with no one to catch me. You failed with a cushion made of other people's sacrifices. He didn't say anything. I walked away. That weekend, I met Grant for coffee. He was waiting outside the cafe, arms folded, sunglasses on. Still handsome, still dangerous in that way that made me nervous. "You look tired," he said. "Thanks." We sat down. He ordered a black coffee. I got tea. "I heard about Dale," he said. "Word's getting around." "Let it." He stirred his coffee. "You always this cold?" I shot him a look. He held up his hands. "I'm not judging. I'm just watching. You think I'm going too far." He shrugged. "I think you're doing what you think is right, but I also think you're bleeding slowly and calling it justice." I didn't respond. He leaned in. "Be careful who you turn into while you're turning the wheels of justice." I stared at him. "That's supposed to be deep?" He smirked. "Just real." The next morning, I got a call from the front desk of my downtown office. "Victoria, there's a situation." "What kind?" "Your mother. She's on the lawn." I blinked. "What?" "She's lying on the grass, drunk, crying." I drove over in silence. When I arrived, there she was, Andrea, curled up on the manicured lawn in front of my building, a half-empty bottle of cheap wine beside her, hair a mess, shoes off, sobbing into the grass. People were watching, phones out, recording. I walked up slowly. "Mum," I said. She looked up at me, eyes glassy. "I was a good mother," she slurred. "I tried." "You didn't try hard enough." She reached for my hand. I didn't take it. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't know what we were doing to you." I crouched down. "You knew. You just didn't care enough to stop." She cried harder. I stood. "Get her inside," I told the security guard, "and call someone to take her home." As I walked back to my car, I heard someone say behind me, "She's ice cold." I didn't turn around. Let them talk. The hospital room was quiet when I walked in. Machines beeped steadily. My father was asleep, his face pale and slack. My mother sat in the corner chair, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to disappear. She looked up when she saw me, eyes puffy. "I didn't think you'd come." I held up the folder. "I brought the contract. Again." She flinched but didn't look away. "He's still recovering. He can sign when he wakes up." She stood slowly, walked over, and took the folder from my hands. Her fingers hovered over the clasp. "No one else is coming to save you," I said. "This is the only offer on the table." She nodded, opened the folder, and picked up the pen from the tray beside my father's bed. "You're really going to make him sign this?" she asked. "You already did." She hesitated. "He won't forgive me." I looked her straight in the eye. "He never forgave me either." She signed. Her hands shook, but she did it. Then she closed the folder and handed it back. I turned to leave. "Victoria," she said softly. I stopped. "I did write you once. A letter. Years ago. After you left." I turned around. "I never got it. I left it in one of your books. I didn't know where you were." I didn't say anything. Just walked out. Later that night, Ava came over. She brought takeout and a bottle of wine. We sat on my balcony, the city lights flickering like distant stars. "They're both locked in now," she said, flipping through the signed pages. "Full power of attorney, public apology, Dale's employment contract, everything." "Good." She looked at me. "You don't feel anything?" I picked at my food. She leaned forward. "You're not a monster, Vic, but you're walking a thin line." "They deserve this." "Maybe, but what do you deserve?" I didn't answer. She sighed. "You know what I think?" "Always. I think you're so used to pain. You don't know what to do without it." I looked at her. "Then maybe I'll build something out of it." The next morning, I went digging through a box in my closet. Old textbooks, notebooks, scraps of paper from a different life. At the bottom, between two dog-eared psychology books, I found it. A letter, folded, yellowed, addressed to me in my mother's handwriting. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding it in my hands. I didn't open it. Not yet. At the office, Dale was mopping the lobby floor when I walked in. He didn't say anything, just kept working. I watched him for a moment. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes hollow. "Break room needs cleaning," I said. He didn't look up. "I know." I started to walk away, but he spoke again. "You really hate us that much?" I turned. "Hate implies I still care." He leaned on the mop handle. "You think this makes you better?" "No," I said. "Just free." He looked at me for a long moment. "You think people don't see what you're doing?" "I hope they do." He shook his head. "You're not fixing anything. You're just proving a point." "Exactly." That afternoon, I met Grant at the property on 12th. We walked through the second floor, checking on renovations. "You've been busy," he said, looking around. "I like staying busy." He stopped in front of a new office suite. "You know, when we started this, I thought you'd mellow out eventually." "Sorry to disappoint." He smiled. "You're not disappointing. You're just intense." I looked at him. "You think I'm wrong?" "I think you're doing what you have to do. But I also think revenge is a fire, and you're standing real close." I crossed my arms. "You sound like Ava." "She's smarter than me." I laughed, despite myself. He stepped closer. "You ever think about what comes after this?" I shrugged. "Haven't gotten there yet." He nodded. "Let me know when you do." That evening, I got an alert on my phone. A social media post. Photo of my mother on the lawn, drunk. Caption: "Ice Queen daughter makes mom cry on corporate grass." Comments were brutal. I scrolled, jaw tight. Then I saw the name. Pearl. The neighbour. Of course. She'd posted a video too, her voice narrating like she was telling ghost stories. She made her own brother scrub toilets. Her parents signed their lives away, and she just watched. I called Ava. "She's blowing it up," I said. "I'm already on it," Ava replied. "We'll issue a statement. But this is getting ugly." "Let it." "Vic," I said, "let it." I hung up. The next morning, I walked into the office. People stared. Whispers followed me down the hall. I didn't stop. I went straight to Dale's office. Well, the janitor's closet. He was sitting on a crate, scrolling through his phone. "You leaked it," I said. He looked up. "What?" "The contract. The story. Pearl didn't know all that detail. You gave it to her." He stood. "You think I want people to know I clean toilets for my sister? You think I want to be humiliated?" "Then why?" "Because I hate you." He said it flat, like it was a fact. "I hated how easy it came for you once you stopped trying to be loved." I stared at him. "Easy?" "You built this empire out of spite. You didn't need us. You didn't need anyone." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a folder. He tossed it at my feet. I picked it up. Inside was a check. My handwriting. My name on the line. A check I'd written to him years ago, when his startup was failing. "You believed in me once," he said. "Why not again?" I looked at the check. Then I looked at him, and I walked out. I sat on my bedroom floor with the letter in my lap, the one my mother said she wrote years ago. The paper was soft with age, the ink faded. I hadn't opened it yet. I wasn't sure I wanted to. I finally unfolded it. "Victoria, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I don't know if it matters anymore. But I'm sorry. I should have fought harder for you. I should have said something when your father dismissed your dreams. I should have stood up for you instead of standing beside him. I hope, someday, you'll understand that I was scared. That I didn't know how to be anything but quiet. Love, Mom." The apology was vague, hollow even, a whisper of regret, not a confession. I folded the letter back up and slid it into the back of my drawer. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything at all. At the building on 12th, Dale was scrubbing graffiti off the back wall. His uniform was stained, his hands red and raw. A few employees watched from the break room window, whispering. I stepped outside and leaned against the doorframe. "You missed a spot," I said. He glanced at me, then went back to scrubbing. "You always this charming, or just with me?" "Depends on the audience." He stood, wiping sweat from his forehead. "You get what you wanted yet?" "Not even close." He looked at me, eyes tired. "You really think this is justice?" "I think it's a start." He leaned on the wall. You know, I used to think you were jealous, that all this was because you couldn't stand me getting the attention. And now? Now I think you were just invisible. And we liked it that way. I didn't respond. He picked up the bucket and walked past me without another word. Later that day, I walked into my office and found Grant waiting with 2 coffees. Thought you might need this, he said, handing me one. Is it spiked? Not yet. I sat behind my desk. What's the damage? He pulled out his phone. Pearl's podcast episode went viral. Family ties and corporate lies. She's milking it. I groaned. Of course she is. She's got followers now. People are calling you the ice queen of real estate. I took a sip of coffee. Catchy. He leaned forward. You want to do something about it? I already did. He raised an eyebrow. I filed a cease and desist. Ava's handling it. He nodded slowly. You sure you don't want to just talk to your family? I did. They signed. He stared at me. You're bleeding, Vic. You just don't know it. I stood. Then I'll build something with the blood. That night, I went to check on one of our properties, an old duplex we were renovating into transitional housing. As I pulled up, I saw flashing lights, police, an ambulance. I parked and ran toward the noise. Andrea was sitting on the curb, wrapped in a blanket, talking to an officer. What happened? I asked. The officer looked at me. You know her? She's my mother. She was found wandering the alley behind the building, drunk, confused. Someone called it in. I crouched beside her. Mum. She looked at me, dazed. I was looking for you. You found me. I didn't know where else to go. I stood and turned to the officer. I'll take her. He nodded. She's not under arrest. Just keep an eye on her. I helped her into my car. She leaned against the window, silent. When we pulled into my driveway, she looked around. This your house? Yes. It's beautiful. I didn't answer. Inside, I made her tea. She sat on the couch, holding the mug like it might vanish. I read your letter, I said. She looked down. I meant it. It wasn't enough. I know. She set the mug down. I don't deserve your kindness. This isn't kindness. She nodded. I know that too. I left her with a blanket and a glass of water. I didn't say goodnight. The next morning, I got a text from Ava. You're trending again. I opened the link. A blog post titled, Daughter from Hell or Hero of Accountability. It had screenshots of the contract, snippets from Pearl's podcast, a photo of Dale mopping a hallway, and a quote from one of my employees. She's not cruel, she's just done pretending. I forwarded it to Dale. No caption, just the link. 2 minutes later he called. What do you want from me? He asked. Nothing. Then why keep doing this? Because I want the truth to matter. He was quiet for a moment. I'm leaving town. When? Soon. I got a job offer in Denver. Construction. I didn't say anything. I'll send you the deed, he added. I blinked. What? To the house. The one we grew up in. I signed it over. No strings. Why? Because I don't want it anymore. And maybe you can do something better with it. He hung up. I stared at the phone. Then I smiled. Just a little. The headline hit me before the coffee did. Ice Queen tortures parents. Daughter uses legal loopholes to humiliate family. I stared at the screen, blinking. The article was everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, even local news. Pearl had done it. She'd gone full scorched earth. There were screenshots of the contract, photos of Dale in his janitor uniform, a video clip of my mother crying on the lawn, and quotes twisted out of context. One even said, I enjoyed watching them suffer. Ava called before I could even finish reading. Don't panic, she said immediately. I'm drafting a statement. We'll hit back with facts. Pearl posted the contract, I said. She must have gotten it from Dale. Probably, but she's the one who made it public. We can hit her with a privacy violation. And the damage? A pause. It's bad, but it's not fatal. I hung up and stared out my office window. The city looked the same, but I felt like I was standing in the middle of a firestorm. My phone buzzed again. Grant. You okay? He asked. Define okay? I saw the article. You want me to come by? No, I've got it. You sure? I hesitated. Yeah. By noon, my inbox was flooded. Reporters, bloggers, a few hate messages, some support too, but it all blurred together. I walked into the lobby and saw 2 interns whispering by the elevator. They shut up the second they saw me. I didn't bother stopping. I had one destination. I pushed open the janitor's closet door. Dale was sitting on an overturned bucket, eating a sandwich. He looked up, chewing slowly. You here to fire me? You gave Pearl the contract. He didn't deny it. She asked. I answered. You knew what she'd do with it. He stood. You humiliated us. Publicly. Repeatedly. You think you get to control the narrative too? You were part of the narrative, I said. You just didn't like your role. He threw his sandwich down. You know what? I hated how easy it came for you once you stopped trying to be loved. I blinked. Easy? You built this whole empire while we were still trying to figure out who you were. You stopped needing us. You stopped needing anyone. I stepped closer. I stopped begging. He shook his head. You think this makes you powerful? It makes you empty. I didn't flinch. You want to talk about empty? Try sitting in a freezing apartment eating canned soup while your parents buy your brother a second chance. He grabbed a folder from the shelf and threw it at my feet. I picked it up. Inside was the check, the one I'd written him years ago. You believed in me once, he said. Why not again? I stared at the check. I remembered writing it. I remembered mailing it. I remembered never hearing a thank you. You cashed it, I said. Of course I did. And you still let them think I was selfish. He looked away. I stepped back. You don't get to rewrite history now. He sat down again, quieter this time. I didn't know it would all fall apart. Neither did I said, but I didn't take anyone down with me. I left him there, sitting in the dark. That night, I sat in my apartment with Ava. She was reading the latest blog post aloud. Victoria built her empire on bitterness, not brilliance. She's proof that success without empathy is just another form of cruelty. She tossed her phone on the counter. They're eating this up. I poured 2 glasses of wine. Let them. You're not even mad. I'm past mad. She sipped her wine. We could sue Pearl, or we could go public with your side. I'm going public, I said, but not with a press release. She raised an eyebrow. What then? A press conference. You want to stand in front of cameras and explain why you made your mum sign a contract while your dad was in a hospital bed? I want to tell the truth. She leaned back. You sure you're ready for that? I've been ready since I was 17. The next morning, I booked the conference room at one of my buildings, invited press, sent out a statement. Victoria to address recent family controversy. By noon, the room was packed. I stood at the podium, heart steady. My name is Victoria, I began. And yes, the stories are true. Flashes, pens scratching. I had my parents sign a contract. I made my brother work for minimum wage. I took legal control of what they once refused to share with me. A murmur rippled through the crowd. I did it not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. For years I was the invisible daughter, the one told to marry well instead of dream big, the one who worked nights, studied on breaks, and ate dollar meals while my brother got new cars and second chances. I paused. They didn't just fail me. They erased me. I didn't seek revenge. I sought recognition. A reporter raised a hand. Do you regret it? No, I said, because for the first time, they had to see me. Another question. What now? I looked straight into the cameras. Now, I build something better. That night, my phone buzzed. A voicemail from my mother. Her voice was shaky. We forgot what real love looked like. We tried to buy our son's character and lost both our children instead. I sat in silence after it ended. No tears, no smile, just silence. Then I drove. I found Dale in the parking lot of his apartment, loading boxes into his car. He looked up, surprised. You leaving? He nodded. Denver. Job starts Monday. He handed me an envelope. The deed. No strings. I took it. He looked at me. You don't forgive me, do you? No, I said, but I understand. He nodded. That's enough. And for once, it was. The press conference didn't fix everything, but it cracked something open. People stopped whispering at the office. The social media vultures moved on to juicier scandals. Even Pearl went quiet after Ava sent a cease and desist with enough legal weight to make her delete half her podcast episodes. But the silence didn't feel like peace. It felt like the eye of a storm. 3 days after the conference, I got a call from a local reporter. We'd like to do a follow-up piece, she said. Something more human. No. It could help your image. I'm not interested in PR. I'm interested in facts. She hesitated. Your story's resonating with people, especially women. You should know that. I hung up. That night, I walked through the empty house Dale had signed over, our childhood home. The wallpaper in the hallway was still peeling. The dent in the kitchen door from when Dale slammed it in high school was still there. My old bedroom had been turned into storage, boxes of dusty holiday decorations, broken electronics, forgotten junk. I stood in the middle of the room and closed my eyes. I could still hear my mother's voice telling me to smile more when I cried. My father's footsteps pacing when I dared to argue. The silence after I left for college with nothing but a duffel bag and a scholarship. I opened my eyes and pulled out my phone. Ava, I said when she picked up, I want to turn the house into something. Like what? A shelter for women. Education, housing, independence, a second chance. She was quiet for a beat. You sure you want to do that with this house? I'm sure. All right, she said. I'll start the paperwork. 2 days later, I got another voicemail. It was Andrea. She sounded tired, hollow. I saw the press conference, she said. You were brave, you were right. I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I thought silence was love. I was wrong. I didn't replay it. I didn't delete it either. Grant showed up at my office with a coffee and a smirk. Saw the plans for the shelter, he said. You're full of surprises. You thought I'd put a wrecking ball through it, didn't you? I thought you'd sell it to a developer and never look back. I shrugged. This feels better? He sat down across from me. You know what I think? Always. I think revenge was just the beginning. Now you're building something bigger. Don't get sentimental on me, he smiled. Too late. Later that week, I visited my parents' new apartment. Small, clean, quiet. Andrea opened the door. She looked thinner, older, but her eyes were clearer. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said. I'm not staying long. She stepped aside to let me in. Randall was sitting on the couch, watching a muted news broadcast. He didn't look over. I handed her a folder. What's this? She asked. The shelter plans. I thought you should see what the house is becoming. She opened it slowly. Her hands shook. Education programs, job training, counselling, I said. For women who were told to be small. She looked up at me. You're doing this because of us? I'm doing it in spite of you. Randall finally spoke. You think this makes you a hero? No, I said. It makes me useful. He scoffed. You always did need to prove something. I turned to leave. And you always needed someone else to blame. Andrea followed me to the door. Thank you, she said, for not burning it down. I looked at her. I thought about it. Why didn't you? Because I'm tired of carrying ashes. The shelter opened 3 months later. We called it the second room, a place for women who never got the first chance they deserved. Ava stood beside me at the ribbon cutting, holding a glass of champagne. You know, she said, your revenge turned into a charity. I smiled. I guess that's the final twist. Grant showed up late, carrying a bouquet of white lilies. For the lobby, he said, handing them to me. And maybe for the ghosts. Thanks. He looked around at the crowd. Volunteers, press, a few donors. You did it, he said. Not alone. He raised an eyebrow. That's new. I laughed. After the event, I sat alone in what used to be my bedroom. Now it was painted soft blue, with a twin bed and a desk, a safe space for someone starting over. I opened the drawer of the desk and pulled out my college acceptance letter. the one I'd kept all these years. I read it again, slowly. This time I smiled. Then I filed it away next to the deed, my name on both. Before I left, I checked the mailbox one last time. There was a package, no return address. Inside was a handwritten journal. On the cover, in my mother's script, letters we never mailed. I didn't open it. Not yet.